In recent years, a very special fashion has taken quite a boom in Mexico, representing the form and lifestyle of a perfect godin, a person who lives for his job and who represents more than 70% of the average office worker, who works and it retains an approximate schedule of 8 working hours per day, people who live their daily lives between public transport, tuppers with cold food, excessive copies, and small cubicles to carry out their activities, exploited and mistreated by their supervisors. Within this area, Rebellion de los Godanes arrives on this occasion, directed by Carlos Mort, a film that promises to raise his hands for those Godanes unprotected against the injustices of their bosses. History tells us about Omar, a young man who works as a bottogger in the Frikit Laser in Mexico City. After an incident, he is forced to find a formal job to financially support his grandfather and enters Relotouch, where he is not only good at his job, he also has a good relationship with the owner, the assistant chief of operations, and his companions. When everything seems to be going well, an unexpected turn will force you to test your virtues to save your friends and the company itself. The film stars Gustavo Edilhaf, Alejandro Suarez, Barbara de Regil, Mauricio Arguelles, Cesar Rodriguez, and Ana Carrero. Undoubtedly, one of the vital elements within this production is the visibility that is carried out on bullying, sexual harassment, and labor exploitation in a superficial way and with little tact, but just as important. The filmmaker Carlos Mort finds a quite interesting visual style along with quite well-worked effects that make a story that promises little with respect to the cinematographic and cultural enrichment of his audience. The new show that Gustavo Edilhaf was born to do comedy is framed with a couple of charismatic and genuine scenes in which the naturalness with which it unfolds in a clearly transparent environment is noted. But, unfortunately, this production maintains a very bad development in its history, since it never triggers its potential and its script is in a purely very poor qualifier. The most vital and transcendental elements of God in life are totally sidelined and sadly unused, since there is no real place for what this figure represents within the Mexican idiosyncrasy. Use absurd jokes, macho and lacking energy, falling into the repetition of situations that denigrate the working class. In this tenor, the filmmaker himself is blinded to his vision and moves away completely from what the title of his film refers to. Unundulated performances by the entire cast, with the exception of an Edilhaf that does its best to rescue a tape that is limited by script and direction, without intention, without control, and totally disproportionate to what is reflected on the screen. The film surprisingly contains a loose addition and a rhythmic rhythm that generates zero interest. This coupled with the fact that it produces uncomfortable, illogical scenes and an erroneous sound structure, since its sound mix is perceived as unattended and contains an equally inaccurate soundtrack. Its end is totally due and leaves the feeling of haste and bad execution. In summary, Rebellion of the Godanes is a generic film that the only thing that it tries is to go up to the fashion of one of the most colorful and comic life forms of the daily life in the labor world. Here we find a godin without ambition, preparation and empathy. Unfortunately, it is a failed experiment to entertain the viewer eager for ease and fun.